go.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Rick, would you lead us, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is must be filled in here. We're cutting back.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bach.
Here.
Councilmember Cozio.
Here.
Councilmember Edge.
Here.
Vice Mayor Lund.
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 2, public comments, items that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody who'd like to address the council? Please fill out a card.
Ray Sanchez.
Is there anybody else? Please fill out a card, and we cannot take action, but we can take your input and take it from there. So, Mr. Sand, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Ray. You're welcome.
If you don't mind, I'm going to pick the mic up because it's a little bit low for me.
Yeah.
My name is Ray Sanchez, and I am the chairman, if you will, of the Accord group that is opposing our local project for this new ARCO station. Tonight, this is not, the station itself is not really the issue. The issue right now is what happened yesterday. I don't know if all of you are aware. I have contacted one of the council people here in regards to this issue, and it's important it gets brought out. I have been on this project for a while. I chose to take the lead on it. I think as a local resident, I have the legal right, with following the legal system, to oppose any project that the city puts together. I believe there's a lot of people behind me on making this happen, and therefore, as long as we follow the legal system, which we have, we deserve the right and the respect to do it. Yesterday, we opposed an issue that was happening in regards to some trees being torn down on the project for this ARCO station, and I think we had the right to do so. We called the right authorities. They came down. We were showing them where the problem was, and that we're addressing it. Everything was in the legal system, as we understand it. Now, I'll tell you up front right now, folks, I am pissed off, to say the least, okay? I am a grown man, and I've handled this thing with care and respect for all those in this room. But I will not be bullied by anybody in this room. By nobody, okay? And I'll make it very clear to you people. You are the elected officials. You appointed an official here. And this is Roger Grimsley. I'm going to make it very clear here. I will not tolerate that kind of attitude from him or anybody else. All right? I'll tell you something. I lost my mother 2 years ago, the greatest person in my life. And I will not have somebody come to me and say, you get these sons of bitches off this property. Those were his exact words. Quoted. There are 4 witnesses. Myself, Dan DeVries, the biologist for the warden, and the warden himself. I have contacted the state to see what can be done about it. I thought about contacting the media. I decided to hold back. But that kind of attitude will not be tolerated by any of us in this community. Let me tell you something, Mr. Grimsley.
Listen,
no.
Direct it politely, okay? That's all I'm asking.
Polite?
You know what?
You want to talk about polite?
Okay, Ray, just calm down and address it, and then we'll move on. We hear you.
Okay.
We're right here.
Okay, you're here. But you want to talk about polite. Let's keep polite, okay? That was totally uncalled for. He is an appointed official that works for us. We do not work for him, okay? I want you folks to do something about this situation, and I want everybody in this room. I'm glad we have a full room, because I want everybody to know what goes on in this situation. I have been bullied. I have been disrespected over and over again. I have been called by the media and asked if I'm a pawn to the attorneys involved.
Okay, Ray, okay, I got to ask you to wrap it up because the light's on.
Oh.
I think
Yeah.
we got it.
Okay, you folks got it too? I hope you did, because I made it very clear.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Is there anybody else that'd like to address the council? Anybody?
Filling out real quick.
Yeah, you
Adam?
you're filling out this.
So my name's Jim Adam. I'm a resident of San Juan Bautista on Salinas Road as well. And this exact behavior was what I questioned at the last meeting. Why is the city government pushing so hard for this project? Why is that happening? There is no answer. Nobody gives an answer. Why is that happening? What is the goal? What is the only benefit that you must get? I don't understand. There are other options. Frankly, Aloe is another option. I don't know if there's other options as well. But you pushed it through so fast and so hard that I have to question what the motives are. Why would you get your ego so involved that there has to be a confrontation on the property? How is that happening in this city? Doesn't that seem like a good question to you?
I'll answer when
Any
you're
of you?
done. I'll respond. I mean,
Sure.
You know, when you're done.
I'm done.
Okay. After everybody's getting done, the council can comment. Is there anybody else?
I didn't put in a speaker card. I'm Dan
Well,
Bear.
just yeah. Okay.
5 Donna Street. I'm curious about what is the problem with the people taking the trees down? Why are they assuming that there's something wrong with that? Do they not own the property? I hear that I'm on the planning commission. I didn't see any of you at any of our meetings. That's when the process happens. I wish you had come. You would have heard so much.
I wish we had
been more informed.
I wish we had
It
known.
was posted in all the 3 places. You have to go out. You have to,
I
take some
understand that,
responsibility.
but
Oh, wait a minute.
Hey, you know what?
Okay.
You're welcome to address.
I just
the
want to
council.
say, people need to inform themselves, be informed. We can't come knocking at everybody's doors. It was at the library, it was posted here, it was posted at the city hall. Everybody comes and gets mail.
Well, it's not on your website, however.
Hey, please,
We're required to
you
do
can
3
address the
places.
council.
Everybody must get the mail. So it's up to the citizens to take some responsibility, to become informed, not wait till after the fact. And do you know whether it was wrong for them to take the trees down? Why are you assuming that there's something wrong with that? And does the man own the property? If he does, it's his property. I personally even asked about the trees myself because it was the Tax Grove, many community picnics were held there. But if he owns the property, it's his right to do that, whether or not we like it. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Just.
I have to, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. You just give me your. I think I know who you are, but you can you can fill it out later. Just I think you're.
Sorry.
No,
I
I'm
want to
good.
address that. First of all, it's not
No,
the
I'm
question
good.
of whether he's taking down the trees. It's why our city officials telling our citizens to get off property they don't own. Why is that happening? Why is there such agitation just because there are people that are not for this process? Yes, you're right. We have to get involved, and we should have known. But it was limited. There were 3 meetings that discussed that. That's it. That's all. By the 3rd meeting, it was done. So my question is, but whether or not the trees should have been down, that's up to the state warden to deal with and whoever wants. Yeah, it is, actually. But to have a city official come out to a property and use belligerent words to citizens is beyond me. I'm frankly surprised at this. Very surprised. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else that'd like to address it before or any other issues? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Any comments? I'll answer that gentleman's question.
Just that my understanding is anybody who owns property in the city who comes in to City Hall and gets a permit and that permit is approved is allowed to remove trees. If there was a problem at the site, we'll be evaluating our city manager tonight and we'll ask him about it. But don't think anybody except the owner of the property and whoever he hired to come remove the trees had any right to be on the property. That's my feeling.
Okay.
My understanding is that the property owner had a permit to take the trees down. And I would just like to point out to you folks that the city hasn't done anything about it, but the property owner of the motel has taken down an old tank house that was probably older than me and never got a permit to do it. So fair is fair, right?
Did you go on the
Not at
property?
all. 2 wrongs make a right. So now I get to go do whatever I want?
Can I respond?
Yeah, go ahead. Hold on. Go ahead, Tony.
Number one, we don't need any interjections from you. You had your time to speak. Number one, the people that were on that property were not the owners of the property. That's private property. You don't walk, it's not like you walk into my backyard and complain I'm cutting down a tree. The man had a permit to cut down the trees. They had an arborist look at it. They had a biologist look at it. They even had a bucket truck out there, and the guy went up to make sure there were no nests of hawks or buzzards or whatever. So it was a clear-cut case of 3 people trespassing on that property. The game warden seems to think that he has the authority to go anywhere, which is not true. All right? And as a final aside, when Mr. DeVries comes in here and apologizes to Michelle for the language he used Monday morning, then I would even consider listening to anything he had to say. That's it.
May I respond to that?
Now we're
That
done.
law makes a right.
Hey, hold on. It's closed public comment. Robert, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, just a couple things. What I've seen of this, the process, and then we'll wrap it up, is that the Planning Commission had multiple meetings. I watched them on CMAP. The one I didn't watch was a daytime, on a Thursday. All the opportunity was there. Okay, jumping forward, the owner of the motel, we issued a tree permit, removal. We did not ask for an arborist. There was the pool being filled, all the plants being put in, which is fine. Worried about disturbing the soil for artifacts or whatever. We didn't ask for anything. The owner comes in here, and the city manager said, we better get an arborist. Fine. An owner of a business emailed yesterday, and he said, Andy, what's going on? She says, what's going on? I told her, and I said, you know what? The stumps are going to stay until we get the proper personnel in there when we're moving the ground. This guy, it's like the whole thing's tilted. And to be honest with you, I mean, it's like this guy has to do everything, jump through all the hoops.
What hoops?
Get an arborist, get an expert in for any Indian artifacts when we remove the roots where the other project didn't. The pool.
The other project's not a new project.
I don't care what it is, but you're still moving stumps out. How do you know nothing's there? I don't know, and you don't know.
It's already been assigned.
Okay, the bottom line is, me as a council member, I'm 100% for this project. Okay, I'm 100% behind it. I followed it. I think it's a good project. I hope Mr. Leal has a great, his motel is great. I wish him all the success. But for me, until I'm up here and until I'm gone, I'm for it. I'm for that gentleman's property rights. He had every right to cut those trees down. Every right. Every right. You wouldn't want somebody coming on your property telling you couldn't cut a tree down.
I wouldn't want the city manager coming
Well, I don't care. Hey, you know what? Hey, we'll deal with that, okay?
Wait,
That's it.
You get out of it.
Okay, we're done with it. Okay, I'm done with it. Okay?
Just one more thing, because you keep bringing up that the hotel is an existing site. Where he removed trees had never been touched
Then deal
before,
with it.
just like this.
Deal with
And we
that.
issued him, I'm telling you, just listen. We issued permits for him to remove trees, just like we issued permits for the other property to remove trees. There is no difference, and we are not treating either landowner differently. there are some people of the public who are treating both landowners differently.
Well, I
But
think they should.
the council and the city is not treating those landowners
But
differently.
Of course you should. Do a new.
Why should we? I just told, you weren't listening. No, you,
Okay.
excuse me. No, excuse me.
This is not a debate.
Hey, wrap it up. Hey,
You're
let's-
excused.
If you were listening to me,
Let's just wrap it up.
if you were listening to me, I just
Go.
said
Go.
that that is new property where he removed the trees from.
I'm done.
He already owned the hotel, but it goes in an L shape. Part of the L shape where he removed the
Then
trees
you should deal with
had
that,
never
not
been.
me.
Well,
And we did.
That's my point. It's not me for Frank Leal versus.
Okay, whatever. We're going to deal with it. Okay, I'm done. So let's, can I get a motion to move the sheriff's office
Yeah.
and the water up?
Yeah, on the agenda, I would like to make a motion to move the sheriff's report and the water issue, so 3D and 6A to the top of the agenda above the presentations
Okay.
and
So-
informational
So,
items.
okay.
That's 6A.
Yeah, we got the
6A
water.
and 3D.
Okay,
I'll second.
yeah. All in favor?
All right.
Okay. No, I'm not going to worry about it. Tony here? I'm going to have called Tony up and get him the sheriff's report. Then we'll go to water. And then we'll,
He's not here.
yeah, Tony's here.
Is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
you
there.
can get him out of here.
Good to see everybody, Mayor.
Good thing you were here.
Tony, fire away.
I'll make this smile.
Yeah, get out of here.
I handed out the stats for last
Yeah.
month and gave you guys all of our annual report from the sheriff's office. And I'm happy to report also, we've hired another person, besides the one I told you about last month that's in the academy. We hired a gentleman that just started this Monday. So this is his orientation week, and he will be starting his FTO program next Thursday with Deputy Mark Williams. So Deputy Mark Williams worked in the city of San Juan
Right.
Bautista before too, so make sure he gets out here and acclimated to city of San Juan Bautista. And we're in the process of another background, so hopefully we'll get that person hired too.
Nice.
So that's some good stuff to report. What else? Last month I sent out a press release regarding Rancho Lardios, regarding a marijuana bust, a resident there. Over 299 plants were recovered out of a residence. One of our deputies, just real quick, one of our deputies was up at Rancho Lardios conducting some extra patrol with another deputy who used to work with UNET, the United Narcotics Enforcement Task Force. And they were doing some follow-up on a burglary. Well, that one deputy, he went to the resident, knocked on the door, nobody was in there, heard a buzzing sound coming from inside the residence. Couldn't really figure out what it was, but recognized the sound from prior experience. Came back later that night and the house lit up like a runway. So then they did some more investigation, and we discovered with a search warrant that there was over 299 plants in that residence, cultivation for marijuana. So that was a good bust. That's a patrolman getting out and just going the extra mile, which I thought was great. Let's see. Jolene, I'm going to meet later with you this week on Friday regarding communication between the sheriff's office and San Juan Bautista, trying to get more information out to you guys. So we'll meet this Friday. I want to let you guys know that we have 67 total sex offender registrants in the county of San Benito, and there are a total of 13 registered sex offenders, Aromas, San Juan Bautista, Betabel, in that area. And then this week we're doing extra patrol, we're doing extra checks on our 290 compliance checks, and everybody's in compliant that's around this area. And there was one person that did leave this area, and he's in prison right now for a sex offense. So I just want you guys to know and the community to know that we're doing our due diligence and making sure our sex offenders are compliant with their registration. The overtime continues to sign up for San Juan Bautista on the weekends. That's going good. And then I will meet with Roger Grimsley, the city manager, next week to go over plans for the 4th of July rally, because I would assume, being the planner that I am, that we're probably going to have some people for the 4th of July come into San Juan Bautista. So we want to make sure you guys are safe.
There you go.
So,
Hello, Tony.
Do you still have the MOU with the Highway Patrol as far as the fourth goes?
Yes, sir, we do.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Roger mentioned something that to me too, so we'll talk about that and with Highway Patrol getting involved with it too.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
Oh, well, you didn't report you were down 11% from 2013. That's
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
I just saw the other one here on burglaries.
Yeah, no burglaries.
Hey,
So,
good. Keep your fingers crossed. Good job.
I mean, I don't want to
Guns
say it
loaded.
publicly, but things
No,
are,
no, I mean, that's good. No, hey,
out loud.
no, hey.
But you know what, I also want to thank the community too, because they're the ones who call in.
No, hey.
Too, you know, without them calling into the sheriff's office, you know, we wouldn't, respond to certain calls or whatever else, or wouldn't know about it, so, thank you guys.
Huh?
Thank you.
Any other? I have nothing further. Rick, Ruben, John?
How many offenders do we have in the county?
In the total county, not just here,
Yeah.
67.
67. Is that a lot for a county our size with our population, or is that
No.
just curious? I never really thought about that figure before, but and they wouldn't necessarily be all on probation or anything.
No.
But once you're registered as a sex offender, always registered as a
Yeah,
sex
you have to
offender?
go through Megan's Law and go through the Department of Justice to fill out a form to be able to get off that, so they have to go through a process.
Interesting.
But we do compliance checks every 6 months, so we just happen to be doing it this week here in San Juan Bautista, so in Betta Bell area and Rancho Lares area.
And as far as the no loitering in front of the bars and stuff, you and Roger haven't had a chance to address that
No.
yet? Maybe when you talk about the July 4th, you could also talk about that.
Yeah, we have an agenda.
Great. Good.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, I'll see you next week, and I'll see you Friday.
Okay,
All right, thank
sounds
you guys
good.
very much.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay. Moving on. Item 6, we're going to move the discussion item up, the water issue. I know there's some people here. So 6A, water shortage emergency. Roger, I'll let you kind of bring us up to speed where we're at with all your meetings. And
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, at our last Thursday's meeting, we invited the public and we had a lot of input from the citizens in terms of the nitrates in our water. And some of those questions we couldn't answer. So we've invited Darrell Wong here from the Health Department to come and maybe he can give us a little bit better insight and kind of inform the people of what their options are when they're utilizing the water from our water system that exceeds the nitrate level. In addition, I have Jan Schweikert here. She's from the State Department of Public Health, and she's certainly welcome to make comments in terms of the water quality. So I'll invite Darrell to come up here, and maybe he can give us a little insight.
Thanks, Roger. Mayor, Council.
Thanks, Darrell.
Basically, just before I got here, we were given the California Department of Public Health fact sheet on nitrates, and I asked Roger to print some out, so I believe they're in the back. So everyone, I hope, can get a copy of it. In general, your water is high in nitrates. You already know that, and what everyone's been saying is don't drink the water. But you still can use the water for most other purposes. You can bathe in it, wash your dishes in it. You can probably wash your fruits and vegetables and just shake off or dry off whatever you can on it. It's really the ingested nitrates that's going to affect you. And just so you know, a normal adult, it's not going to affect you at all. It'll take a while for it to build up. And it's really infants under 6 months and pregnant women that you have to worry about, where the nitrates, which are converted to nitrites into your blood system, it competes with the oxygen on red blood cells. And we get what we call blue baby syndrome. So they kind of don't have enough oxygen. And that can easily be remedied too by shot of methylene blue. So is there any questions that you have that I can directly answer?
On Friday when I talked to you, there was a couple questions from a concerned mother.
Sure.
Bathing an infant, just bathing, not, and that was one, and washing bottles or plates that they may, but maybe you could address that. think-
All of those are fine. You can wash it
Okay.
and basically dry off the water. It's not a whole lot when you really think about it.
Right.
As for bathing, just make sure the child's not underwater trying to drink it.
Right.
And the human body can absorb quite a bit. There's nitrates in your water at all times. It's just that it's exceeded the maximum contaminant levels set by the state.
Okay. And I guess,
Darrell, I got one question.
Sure.
And I don't know if this is a rumor or the factor that somebody from your department came over and told all the restaurant and bar owners that they were going to have to close down because of this situation.
Unfortunately, we got our letter out faster than most of your letters got out to tell people not to drink the water. And so I guess they saw my inspectors going in and out of the restaurants. To be honest with you, the California Retail Food Code states if you do not have potable water under pressure, you cannot operate. But we're under what I consider an extreme emergency measure, so we're not going to close it. We have options, and we've offered the options of they can use bottled water or they can use a reverse osmosis system. And that was in the letter that we sent out. If you have a copy of it, there's nothing that says you're being closed. And we made sure, and I made sure my inspectors did not mention the word closure at all. Even Serato. So no, we were not closing any restaurants. We were actually trying to help them so they can kind of get a jump on getting some of these reverse osmosis systems. I'm not sure how long your water situation is going to be, but bottled water adds up. And so my advice to anybody who's thinking about getting a reverse osmosis system, figure out how much water you're using a day in bottle, then find out how much it's going to cost to install a reverse osmosis system. You can figure out how long it's going to take for that thing to pay off. And in the long run, should you have another problem in the future, they can still operate as long as they keep the nitrates down.
okay, I don't have any further, Jolene.
I'm glad you mentioned that about the skin, because in my research what I found was that nitrates are not absorbed through the skin.
Correct. It's got to be ingested from what I've read too. It's kind of interesting. I've read a lot of FAQs from all over the nation, and they're all pretty much all the same. It's ingestion, and it's got to be in the water itself. So as long as you're not consuming the water or using it to cook with, certain things I definitely would not suggest, like boiling your pasta in it or making soups or stews. And unfortunately, boiling your beans, that's going to take regular clean water that you have to get from a bottle or reverse osmosis.
Because those products absorb the water?
Well, the water will, the sauce or soup or whatever will have the nitrates in it. You can't get rid of them in that sense. It just stays there, and it actually concentrates once you boil it down.
Because as you boil the water down, you have less
Exactly,
water, and so you have
exactly,
more nitrates.
Nitrate reduction.
This is probably a question for a pediatrician, but one woman with a baby wanted to know about things like boiling the nipples. And we pretty much, I think, just told her to call her pediatrician because we didn't feel qualified to answer that. Do you?
Well, when you start thinking about boiling the nipples to sanitize them is what
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
In general, once it dries off, you should be fine. But why take that chance? You're talking about maybe, a couple pints of water out of a bottle to boil. Why take the chance? It's not going to cost you that much.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter either way, but if you want to be err on the conservative side, just use the bottled water if you can do that.
Okay.
What would be like an ingested amount that would probably be serious? I mean, if somebody had drank a couple ounces by mistake or so, would that be a red flag, danger to their health? Do they want to seek medical attention at that point?
I don't know the answer to that. Like I said, a normal adult, your acid in your stomach breaks it down, so I don't think anyone's ever been able to figure it out. It varies from people, especially if you have gastric problems, you're taking antacids or something that's going to affect how much the nitrate is broken down before it gets into your system. So I don't think there's really an answer for that.
So stomach acid would break down the nitrate?
Pretty much that's why a normal adult has no problem. It's just that there are some people who have gastric problems who may not be able to tolerate it well. It does take some time.
Like a lot of questions that people have been asking me is like, well, you know, I can't even shower. This stuff is on my body. It's gonna, you know, impede. It's gonna absorb through my body.
No.
And
there's probably worse
you know,
things if you jump in a lake that you have to worry about worms out there. So you can get just some dermatitis just by jumping in a polluted lake or leeches or anything. I'd be probably having more problems with that.
so, like in washing, then, so as it dries, you know, the nitrates don't stay behind and cling onto the
No.
product that you're washing at the time. It pretty much will just.
Yeah, on a plate or something like that. It just you have to ingest it. It has to get into
Okay.
the bloodstream.
Any other quick questions?
Those are some of the questions that I've been asked about.
And
So
I'm sure you have. We've gotten some.
try to get them out publicly.
We've gotten some ourselves in our office.
And some of the questions seem to be treating it like it's a bacteria or a virus or
Right.
something.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not a. Yes.
It's a residual type.
It's different than that. And Roger, do we have currently at the fire station bottled water available for infants
Yes.
and pregnant women only?
Yes.
I have talked to a couple of women that were pregnant that did not know about it and advised them of it, and hopefully they took advantage, you know, of the service that we're providing, you know, while they're.
Well, that's important that you do have that set up there because then you can provide them with potable water that they need. I talked to Roger about that, and I really suggest perhaps installing a reverse osmosis station there, and that way you wouldn't have to be having all these bottles. You all want to keep recycling and everything.
And we're exploring that option, yes.
Good.
Any questions?
Mayor Moore, may I ask a question?
Go, you may.
Sir?
You can call me Daryl. I think a lot of people here in town know me from going to the restaurants.
My understanding is that more recent tests have shown that the nitrates are within the normal range, and I'm wondering when this cloud over the city is going to be lifted based on those new test results.
That would be up to the state.
I think,
I think they would release the numbers.
I think Jan could answer.
Pulled out the big guns tonight here.
My name's Jan Swigert. I'm the district engineer for the state drinking water program. I'm based over in Monterey. My jurisdiction is Monterey, San Benito, and Santa Cruz counties. I was actually over with Roger this morning at 9 a.m. before I knew about this meeting tonight, and we met for about 3 hours. The county Office of Emergency Services was there as well, and we discussed a lot of options, some of the things that the city is considering. It is not a quick process to get to solve a nitrate problem. You may have some results that fall below the state limits, but we also know that the well is putting out extremely high levels, and unless we see a long-term record that the quality has totally turned itself around, which does happen occasionally, we cannot in good faith lift the public notification. I do want to let you know, I realize that this is your community and your day-to-day lives. There are cities and communities throughout the state that struggle with nitrates. It's a very serious problem, especially communities that at one time were agriculture or are currently on the edge of agricultural areas. We did discuss this morning a variety of options. We kind of tossed some things around. We went on a tour of the system to look at where the wells are, the configuration and some of the piping, and the distribution operator accompanied us because he knows the system the best. We talked about funding options from the state, both grant and low interest loan, and we had some people from our funding program on a phone call for an hour that I made sure they were available to talk, to answer questions, and also to give Roger a name that he could follow up with questions once he has a project description laid out. So I felt like it was a really valuable 3 hours. I hadn't realized I got to stick around till 6 o'clock, but I don't mind doing it if it helps the community have answers and to be informed. And I'll continue to work with Roger, and other people in my program will too, to get through to a completed project. And I should say that it is not a quick process. I know it's incredibly inconvenient. That's an understatement, because I'm not, but I don't have a better word. But we do want to see the city return to compliance, and whatever technical help and possibly funding, we will certainly work with Roger and the city to move the project forward.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Well, we certainly appreciate you coming down.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
spending some time.
Well, when I
It's very frustrating when we don't know the answers and we don't know what to do exactly. And we appreciate your help.
I understand that. It is, and it is such an unusual contaminant. Most contaminants are the kind of thing that you drink so much water over so many years, you have such and such a risk of health effects. Nitrates we call acute. That means one time is going to do it in certain quantities. It is mainly the vulnerable populations, which are infants or pregnant women, but it is real. And we had a case, it's called the common name is blue baby syndrome, because when a baby's blood can't carry the oxygen, it turns blue. And there was a case in the Salinas Valley about 10 years ago where a mother forgot in a single well farmhouse and made a bottle. So it is very serious, and we want to see the city move ahead on a project, and whatever we can help them, it's their project, but whatever support we can have, and can't promise funding, but potentially funding. We will continue to work closely with Roger and any other city staff to move the project along. Roger has my contact information if any questions come up. I'll be glad to answer any. I know if there's any questions right now.
Yeah, they can go.
Yeah, I went online and found the drinking water treatment for nitrate study done by UC Davis.
Mm-hmm.
It was a report for the State Water Resources Control Board, report to the legislature, so you're probably familiar with it. And I was surprised to find, I was hoping to find somewhere in their summary what they felt was the best system. And they didn't really come to a conclusion of a best. They came, ion exchange works, reverse osmosis works, but everything's, has its drawbacks. And they pretty much said that most places, whether it's a private well or a city, are more likely to do the non-treatment options, well abandonment, wellhead protection and land use management, alternative sources and source modification, blending. Those options were more commonly used than actually putting in an RO or an ion exchange or one of the other chemical type treatments. Is that?
That is, I can't say if that's entirely true. There's issues on both, there's facts on both sides of the issue. A lot of places can't put a well in that reliably gives them good water. Or if they do, they have to put it so close to a creek or a river that then they trade nitrates for untreated surface water and still have to put in treatment. On the other side, if you put in treatment, there's a waste product to be disposed of. And that is, at least over in the Salinas Valley, the regional board is pretty strict about anybody putting in nitrate treatment when they're going to be disposing of the what we call the waste effluent from the plant, because basically if you filter, it's different types of filtration. Some are a chemical filtration, but nonetheless you're pulling out all the nitrates. You send the good water out to the distribution system and you're left with a highly concentrated stream that is usually very high in nitrates and high in salts. And we all know the regional board, that's another no-no. So disposal of the treatment effluent is a serious issue. Operating a treatment plant increased operations and maintenance costs. But for some communities, finding a well with good water doesn't happen. So it's particular to each community. We do not endorse one particular plant for a lot of reasons. There's new products on the market, new manufacturers all the time, but it would also be preferential if the state came out and said, you know, we only, and we recommend, you know, nitrate is us treatment plant. That would not go over very good. What we do recommend, and this is actually in state regulations, is we have what are identified as best available technologies for different sizes of system for removing different contaminants. And we have those for nitrate. Those are spelled out in the state regulations in Safe Drinking Water Act, in the California Code of Regulations. Ion exchange and reverse osmosis are two of the most common. But we do not recommend one manufacturer. In addition to that, what we do have, and I know Darrell Wong has this list, is for under-the-counter systems. While we don't recommend one, we have evaluated various under-the-sink models, and we have ones that are certified to remove nitrate. You know, they may make all sorts of claims, but on our website, somebody can go in and actually check, is that product, you know, actually certified by the state to remove nitrates. And we provided that list to Darrell, and I think he made it available to the restaurants for anybody who wanted to go in and lift their requirement to use bottled water if they installed a state-certified under-the-counter device for nitrate removal.
And just to follow up on that, these under-the-counter ones also have a high concentration of nitrates that then go into your sewer?
You know, I don't work with those products. I believe they have a cartridge that's disposed of, similar to what's in some refrigerators now have various little filters. I believe it's a cartridge type of unit that you just throw it away.
So it's just the really big ones that have this excess water?
Right, the ones that are treating a well for a community.
And is there any possibility of using that high nitrate water as a fertilizer?
You know, a lot of people suggest that. I'm not an ag expert, but both the two most common ways of removing nitrate, reverse osmosis, which is, you know, basically a physical barrier that is holding back the nitrate, is also holding back the salts. So it's going to be a real salty, high salts product.
So you would have to dilute it somehow.
You'd have to do something because you wouldn't want it on the plants. The other one, ion exchange, is part of the process. It relies on resins that attract the nitrate molecules. You use a brine solution to clean the resin periodically to wash it off, and that's your waste product. So once again, it's salty. Whether a farmer could take that and dilute it down, I don't know.
Thank you.
Well, Dan, thank you for the education and expertise. And you were very helpful today and giving us a lot of options and an opportunity to explore different avenues. We appreciate that.
Well, I will be in touch. I'm
sure you will.
Any more questions from the council?
I don't have. Roger fills us in pretty thoroughly, so.
The only story I heard was that you would have to drink several gallons of our water right out of the tap to equal the nitrates that you would get in 2 hot dogs.
Well, I don't eat meat, so. But you know, it's interesting you said that because I've heard several people mention that to me. One of my staff people brought it up when she heard I was coming over here. I cannot verify or deny. Not in my expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, is there anybody from the public that would like to address the council on this item? No? Okay. I'll bring it back. I guess I have a couple of questions, Roger. Oh, go ahead. Come on up, man. No, can you come on up to the mic and just give us your name and.
I don't live here in San Luis County, but I'm thinking, I've never heard of this nitrate stuff. I live in Imperial Valley, and I'm thinking, how do we get this information? How do we know what? Normally, myself, I always buy the bottled water to drink, but I don't know about the food. You cook it in tap water. Same question, she answered the question already.
Well,
but
I
didn't
guess
get
I
it.
would answer that by saying what water system you're on, if you're on a municipal or a city or a county, or and maybe check with the city or county that you're in and what well
County
you're.
office,
Yeah, because they would.
Where are you at?
Imperial Valley,
Imperial Valley?
Southern California.
Yeah.
Oh, well, they have to do the same thing that we do here. They test the water all the time. And that's how we discovered that we had high nitrates in it.
Well, see, we don't go to these meetings. I came.
No, I mean,
My granddaughter-
if it's a problem, they have to notify you,
Oh.
you know. Now, you may not have a problem down there, I don't know.
So no news is good
Maybe
news.
we do, and we don't attend meetings.
Oh,
We don't know.
when you go back home, find out who you're paying your water bill to. Ask
It's
them for a
required
report.
by the state that you're notified if they're having a problem, unless you're on a private well, and then you're responsible for testing it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to come up before I bring it back? Seeing none, then I'll bring it back to the council. Roger, just, I guess, where are we, we need to expedite whatever we're going to do.
Yeah,
So what are some of your ideas? And I know that Robert has some ideas. And
Yeah, and Robert pointed out, and speaking with some plumbers, that getting a smaller reverse osmosis and putting it behind City Hall here would help us and alleviate us buying the bottled water. That's one avenue that we're going to accelerate and investigate. The other one is just a follow-up of the direction you gave me Thursday night, is we're exploring a ion exchange or reverse osmosis to put on well number 2, and that cost there. And then we're also exploring the option of looking at a potential well site north of town where there's better quality of water. So those are basically 2 options we're looking at.
Okay, you know, the system, the commercial type system, I think that the council ought to expedite and get that up and running here for the restaurants. Where maybe you can clarify what, I know you talked to A&M Plumbing,
Yeah.
but to have it here where people can come in and fill their 5-gallon jugs, and because I'm hearing from the restaurants.
And I'm going to get a hold of Tony tomorrow from A&M.
If we can find out the volumes of water that they're using each week, you know, for quick systems for that.
And some restaurants have already got ROs in them. You know, so.
I know one restaurant I went to, their water tasted a lot better than it had the previous time I'd been there. and I don't think they were using bottled. I think it was filtered somehow.
Yes.
And it was quite good.
You know, I have a system in my own home that I believe I bought it from Costco, and it has 4 filters. It's supposed to take everything out of the water, and it's got a little pressure tank, and you put it under the sink. But that's just, you know, we just use it for our house, so I don't have to change the filters that often.
I think the key to any system is that it has continual maintenance, and you have to maintain them and check those cartridges and filters on a regular basis.
I'm just wondering
for it to be effective.
if they claim it and it doesn't actually do it. I don't know. But I don't have to change the filters about every 3-4 months, something like that. They have a little indicator on them that tells you.
Yeah, there was some systems that, you know, for home use that a lot of agencies use. Yeah, it wasn't that much. And they changed the filter seasonally, and they changed the membrane filter every 2 years. So it's
the only
where
they get you is the
filter unit
filters,
itself.
the replacements. In fact, I just saw it on Costco's website. It was $55 for a set of 5 of them. So.
Yeah, and it's easy to cavitate one of those systems. I think most of them are maxed at about 2 gallons. It's about a 2-gallon unit, and once you use up that 2 gallons, it takes so long for that to reproduce the next 2 gallons that you'll be using.
Yeah, it seems a lot of it is.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't work for a restaurant.
Oh no.
Hey, Robert, on that gallons output, that one that Tony was talking about, what was that?
Yeah, it's pretty much like the filter system that she was talking about, where they use a resin to extract the nitrates. In a 24-hour period, it would produce about 1,600 gallons.
1,600, and what was the price on that?
It was roughly around $2,000.
So that is acceptable for a restaurant? That would work for a restaurant?
Yeah.
That's a lot of water, really, for a 24 hour.
Yeah, but, you know, we're going to be discharging probably 600 gallons of high concentrated nitrate water through that.
Roger, what are your thoughts?
Every RO system's got a discharge that's the key of what we're going to be putting back in.
Roger, what are your thoughts if we were to, you know, make a decision to set up one or two of these here for the citizens, you know, in the courtyard here because it's staffed, and get that rolling right away? I don't know. I'll get input from the other council. Get, you know, to spend the money, get that going.
Yeah. Once we get it in there, we'll send out notices, and this time here we'll probably hand deliver to every resident, allowing them the opportunity to come and then bottle up at that machine. The trouble is that machine can only generate so many gallons per hour, and so if you have people lined up 5-gallon jugs, it has a limited capacity.
It pretty much would probably be, what would that come out to, 140 gallons an hour?
Hey, you were talking about one that builds capacity like a tank that generates.
You could put a storage tank next to it. You know
what I mean? And throughout the night, it would build up a reserve.
Yeah.
You know, I know how I feel. We're going to be back here on a budget hearing in a few days. But if you're allocated, you're authorized to spend up to about $5,000. I would say go look at and get one of those going, and it'd be money, I believe, well spent. You know, get.
And we can stop buying these too.
Well, whatever. I mean, I don't. I'll take.
Even we could cut back.
But Roger, that's how I feel. That at least we make a decision. You know, we'll get that up and running.
An emergency situation.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and get it going. If you find the right one, hey, we can. I'll try. I don't know how you know everybody else
I'd be
feels.
willing to approve it.
Yeah, I mean, you're allocated up to 5,000. If it goes over, you know, we'll have a special meeting.
Are we going to try to have a final date of what kind of system we're going to try? And should we set a goal for that? A final date of what we?
Yeah, I think it has to. One is we're still getting information and stuff, and then I have a hydrologist coming down, and he's going to explore. So I would hesitate to establish a date because we're still gathering information, and then, of course, what Jen had informed us about developing a strategy and a good project description and a cost estimate. Still, we have a lot of miles to go, but we're going to accelerate that effort.
Do we have like an estimated time of our completion of homework?
No.
Let's call it ASAP. We'll just call it as soon as possible.
Okay.
On the options for a little bit longer term solution, how do you feel that pipeline to one of the or to the produce company that offered to send water our way, that's quality water, what would the cost of a pipeline be if we went that way, and could it be used in the future for our own well out that direction should we decide to put one out there?
If you're sharing an agricultural well, and I assume it's got a sanitary seal and everything, it gets into a problem of public water system, you know, that's sharing with that, and it might be for temporary and everything, but you'd probably have to develop some type of arrangement where you would own it individually in the long term, you know.
Yeah, or put in your own.
Yeah, put in
I'm
your
just
own.
wondering if the cost of a pipeline out there, we might be able to recover because eventually we will be putting our own well out there.
Those are some of the options that we should look at. I know it depends on where we're going to go, is the length of the pipe affects the dollar cost.
Yeah. I just wondered if you were going to look at that when you talk with this water expert.
Yeah, that's an integral part of the analysis where we have to, if wherever we zero in and say, hey, if this is the site we're going to go, then we have to plan on getting that and connect it to our distribution system, and so that goes hand in hand. And I think, like Janet said, is the funding is there, but on drought is it's a cap, so there's a dollar amount that we'll have to live within and stay within. So we got to be frugal but very efficient.
Yeah, but not penny wise and pound foolish.
Yeah.
We need to get it going.
Yeah.
One way or another. And one other thought I had, or actually I was talking to the former Ag Commissioner, and he brought up an interesting issue about one possible good side effect of the drought and cutting back on the blue valve water is that this county traditionally has a high water table already, and that perhaps all of that San Luis Reservoir water that we're pumping in is actually raising our water table, which could be causing some of our own problems. And that just kind of got me thinking. I thought, I wonder if all that water out in South or North County could have been coming, some of it from the blue valve water, because isn't there sort of a impermeable area out there that stops?
Since we've been importing the blue valve water since 1976, the groundwater table in Shore Road and Lover's Lane have increased. And when I was in my private business, we did some surveys out there, and it was actually artesian and bubbling out of the water, out of the ground, 18 inches and stuff. And so it's definitely affected the Soap Lake area. Now, I don't know if it's affected other areas out by the airport or McCloskey or something like that, but where it goes into Soap Lake, the groundwater is very high.
And that can create other problems, right? Bringing up chemicals and things from... Huh. I had never thought of it that way.
I heard that the blue valve water was better than our groundwater, and that's why the farmers were using it.
Oh, yeah. It's got a lot of good things for ag because it's low in salts and nitrates, too, I believe.
Yeah. But then the adverse is that when you're not pumping the groundwater and it has a buildup, maybe you should start to pump it and use it so that it runs through the subaquifers and gravels and it cleans it up, So there's pros and cons,
Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing that kind of scares me a little bit about their offer on the water, giving us the water, they shared with us that they would give it to us as long as they had extra. And I'd hate to put in a pipeline there that would, hey, by the way, we need that water back.
Yeah, that's why I was questioning whether or not it might be a pipeline that we could use should we eventually put our own well out there.
Yeah, something we can defer to another line.
Yeah.
And we'll look at those options,
I guess what I would suggest, when are we having our next budget hearing? Is it just
29th.
29th.
Why don't we put the water on every time we meet, so we don't, if we need to make a decision, it's on there, because it is a priority.
Budget meeting, water meeting.
Yeah, or if we have to meet early, Roger, it's on there, and, so we can just keep it going.
Well, we've given Roger the authority to make a decision if he needs to.
On the emergency.
Yeah, because it is
on
an
the emergency part, but we'll meet back on the other.
Okay, well,
we should have some information in by the 29th on the bigger systems.
Yes.
See where we're going. Okay. I guess that's it. Okay. I'll jump back to the agenda here. Okay. Let's see here. Ernest, I guess you're up. The presentation for Preservation Month, Mr. Franco from the Planning Commission.
Well, first of all, good evening, Mayor, Rory, and members of the council, staff. Happy Preservation Month to start with.
Yeah.
May is traditionally National Preservation Month, and the City Planning Commission, as part of its charge to guide development in the city, we have started a program to recognize people who have done something with their properties to improve them, thereby improving the visual aspects of the commercial area, fixing up, maintaining a building, and also maybe to encourage others to come in because it's a nice place to do business. This month, this year, the Planning Commission selected a firm that's downtown, and we would like to give them a certificate of recognition to keep this tradition going. I'd like to, first of all, I will read the certificate, and then we'll see if the recipients are here. They're not here, so I'll read the certificate. I think it's important because I want the public, people in the business areas to know that we care, we're watching, and we do recognize the folks who, especially in these times, hard times, will stick their necks out for themselves and the city, because remember, we don't build businesses, they do. So recognize the folks who stuck their necks out for the city. Okay, the City of San Juan Bautista, California, Certificate of Recognition. Whereas the month of May is National Preservation Month, and historic preservation is an effective tool for managing growth and sustainable development, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas the City of San Juan Bautista supports the Secretary of the Interior's standards for the treatment of historic properties, intended to promote responsible preservation practices that help protect our nation's irreplaceable cultural resources. And whereas the function of the Planning Commission is to guide the orderly development of the city in accordance with the general plan and other policy documents. And whereas the Planning Commission wishes to recognize a business owner whose project reflects the city's goals to maintain its historical ambiance by preserving and rehabilitating the structure at 81 4th Street. They upgraded the entire structure while retaining its character-defining features, extended the economic life of the building, engaged local craftsmen, complied with city regulations, exemplified adaptive reuse to house a local business. Now therefore be it resolved at its meeting on April 1, 2014, the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista, on behalf of its citizens, acted to recognize the efforts of Dimitri and Kitty Friedman in renewing an existing resource at 81 4th Street, energizing the local economy, and thanks them for being involved citizens. The San Juan Bautista Planning Commission, signed Ernest J. Franco, Chairman. I was hoping for a photo op, and we don't have a photo op. So that would be the extent of my report. I'll give this.
You should tell them who it is, John.
The business.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vertigo.
Right.
Coffee.
Yeah.
They do great coffees, and I understand their pizzas and other things that they put in a little smokehouse is outstanding.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Can
you.
I
I'll give this to
recommend?
the-
Can I recommend that you go to Vertigo one day and see if you can get a photo op at the restaurant?
We should do that. Because I think the photo ops, I
Front
just
of the
want
oven.
to spread the word that we have something to offer at San Juan Bautista. More people coming in, more people sticking their necks out, improving in economically hard times. I'll give this to the city clerk, and she can deliver it to them.
Thank you, Mr. Franco.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Ernie, would you express the council's thanks for what they've done?
Yeah,
I will do that. I will do
They
that.
got really good coffee, too.
Great. Okay.
thank you. Monterey Bay Air Resource.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, I'm Mike Jordan, the Deputy Director at the Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District, and I've been honored to have the Mayor to ask me to read this declaration recognizing Clean Air Month is the month of May. Whereas the month of May is designated as Clean Air Month, designed to raise public awareness about the need of every Californian to work to reduce air pollution, and whereas Americans across the country and here in San Juan Bautista are working hard to help limit the pollutants that cause climate change and reduce their impact on the environment, and whereas clean air is vital and important to our health, environment, and economy, Whereas due to longer days and warmer temperatures, the month of May is typically the start of the area's ozone season. And whereas particulate matter pollution, especially fine particles, can be inhaled deeply into the lungs and cause serious damage, including asthma attacks, respiratory illness, and premature death. And whereas exposure to diesel exhaust from vehicles and equipment can cause adverse health effects ranging from respiratory irritation to cancer. Whereas small changes in our daily lives can have a big impact on our environment. We can walk, bike, use public transportation, produce byproducts with less packaging, recycle, reuse paper, plastic, glass, and aluminum. We can choose energy-efficient products, turning off lights, unplugging appliances, and cutting back on heating and air conditioning. And whereas, along with the Monterey Bay Unified Clean Air Pollution Control District, the City of San Juan Bautista's commitment to environmental protection and public health results in some of the cleanest air in the nation. Whereas increased public awareness efforts during May and throughout the year will promote actions by San Juan Bautista citizens and businesses that will help keep the air clean. Now therefore be it resolved that the San Juan Bautista City Council recognize May 2014 as Clean Air Month and encourages all citizens to join in the effort to live and work in ways that will ensure cleaner air and better health for our community. And it's signed by the Mayor, Andy Moore.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah,
and I
thank
just
you
want
for coming.
to make sure everybody here in the city knows that we're a phone call away. We have a website, and if you have issues regarding air, clean air, please don't hesitate to reach out for us, and we'll certainly do our due diligence and respond and attempt to address whatever issue you may have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Can I ask
Yeah,
him
go right ahead.
a question? In my report from AMBAG this month, I have something about the Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District has some grant funding available for low emission type.
Yes, we have several programs. We have it's an initiative for electric vehicles, and we have a small amount of money that we're trying to get out to help put in recharging stations or partially offset the cost of the vehicle, for a public fleet. So I know, I think Hollister last year or the year before took advantage of that. So you can have someone come.
Actually, we put it in San Juan.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Hollister turned it down.
Yeah, and Amy Climo is the planning supervisor, and she is the best point of contact on that. Or you can, I've left my business card. You can contact me, and I'll certainly help get you in touch with where we are. I'm actually not quite sure where we are in the process of this year's initiative, but we do have grant funds. We have Carl Moyer funds. We have AB 2766 funds that we encourage to get projects proposed to us that we evaluate and rank, and then we usually give the money out on 2766 in September.
The 2766 is the planning projects for reducing emissions?
That you can submit a project, and it's scored on based on how many emissions are reduced, and then it's weighed against the others. And what's good about that particular one is the way that funding works is the board is made up of members from the 3 counties, Santa Cruz, Monterey, and San Benito. So we recommend projects based on emissions. They make the ultimate decision, and they have an allocation of money, so they often very much move things around to try to help smaller projects as well.
So even bike trails and things like that?
I'm sorry?
Even bike trails? Is that?
Actually, bike trails are not something that we're authorizing for funding for. Not really a direct emission reduction project.
It's for things like expediting traffic or that sort of?
Roundups, traffic light synchronization, charging stations.
Roundabouts?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. So, I mean, we can't pay for a home, but we pay for, we try to get money to help us study, that you can do. We've done several of those. So roundabouts are a good thing.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And you do, there's a possibility maybe we could get another charging station here? Ours gets used, I mean.
I would encourage you to ask us for that.
Okay.
So we actually have some money that came from the CEC grant that is I think being used for some of that as well. So we're really investing a lot in where we can and making sure people can charge electric vehicles.
Most of them, they have their own blink cards.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, you too. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. Monthly financial statement and treasury report.
We don't have Chuck here.
No, I'll let Roger get going.
They're paying for the electricity, right? Did they
Yes.
reimburse us?
Yes.
Roger, maybe you can just brief us on the treasury report.
Oh, yes.
I mean, kind of got it, but...
Just in the summary there, basically the general fund, is the fund balance is got a negative of $40,000, but it's really a change in fund balance from 56, and this is better than last year, plus. Our enterprise has a profit of $10,000 compared to the profit of $12,000, so it's about on board. Overall, our cash flow and accrual, the depreciation was a positive $54,000, and the cash on hand gives us a balanced budget of 2.2, and of course $790,000 of that is restricted that we put away for our debt and interest payment on the COP loan. General fund revenues were $871, which is budgeted higher than by 121. General fund expenditures was a little bit more than we had budgeted by 66, so we still have a positive of about $56,000. And in general fund on hand is a balance of a negative $40,000, which is better than the last year's budget of 56. Enterprise, that was the one where we seen a drop in the enterprise. We were a negative lower by $38,000, and that reflects that maybe the water conservation is starting to kick in, which we've been harping on all along. So, and as well as the expense, we haven't incurred a lot of the bigger expense, particularly in this sludge removal, and so we're still got a positive of and lower by $123,000. And again, our enterprise fund combined year-to-date profit was $10,000.
Cool. Any questions from?
We're limping along, but we're very solvent and positive.
I'm good.
Roger, what is BESST Inc. or?
BEST, those are the consultant that are doing our soil profile on the wells.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then emergency vehicle specialist, that's the police car?
That's the police vehicle, yes, right.
And then one last question. Being as Union Bank's moving out, what...
I have kind of nosed around, and I haven't had anybody that has expressed interest. I've talked with some of the shareholders of Pinnacle, and they hadn't expressed interest at this time.
So we're going to leave our money with them for the meantime?
Yes.
Because that could be a carrot you might hang over somebody. We're going to really miss having a bank here.
Yeah.
Are they going to keep an ATM or?
Yeah,
the
they keep an
ATM will be kept, yes.
But you have to get well, you probably already have one of those cards. I had to go get one.
Technology.
Then I got to have them show me how to work it.
A couple more till you ask two of the things I had on my list, but also the State Water Resources Control Board. Are we still being fined?
No, that is our annual operating due for the sewer treatment plant. That's the permit process for our wastewater treatment.
Okay, for the wastewater. And Mark Nicholson, I've seen that on there before. What are we doing with? That's
we use them to patch a hot patch on the street there, and they come in and then do the hot patch for us.
Good. And I wondered if there was something missing because we only spent $54,900 this month.
Yeah, we cut way back in some of the things. I think we continued two big payments to Bracewell, and I think they were about 17 and 12, and we'll carry those over to next month because there was some work we were doing on it to clean up some of the miscommunications, like on double billing on some of the wells.
So our biggest expense is really, besides our debt, PG&E.
Yeah, two payments this year, so totals about 46 and 43.
Thank you.
So there's some names here on locals that live in town here. I see like Leslie Jordan and Jason Fenstead.
Yeah, those are either going to be reimbursements of where they opened when they open a water account, you pay $230,
So
and then if you close it, you get a portion of that back. And then the other general reimbursement you'll find is somebody will rent the community hall, and then they will not use it, and they'll cancel, so they'll get their money back, or they will leave it in a dirty condition, and then we deduct the cleanup costs, and then we only refund them back a portion of their cleanup.
Any other questions? Okay.
That's all I had on warrants.
What's that?
That's all I had on warrants.
Everybody good? Okay. Fires chief report. I don't see one in here, so.
Mike, where are you?
Anything to report? Yeah.
You're on, Robert. Got anything for us?
He didn't. I don't think he.
Yeah, we didn't receive a report for the fire on that. We'll just carry it over to next month.
Okay, that's fine. Library report. I don't. Any issues? Okay. Roger, administrative city report.
Just a brief recap. Public Works, the crew's maintaining, but Joe's effort has been on the well number 2. We had a short in the pump, and we had to pull the pump. It's been down since yesterday, and it'll continue to be down tonight, and then we'll fire it up tomorrow, and then go through its bacterial test and chlorination. And our well has dropped down to right around 9 feet. So it's tomorrow morning you'll see those we start picking up, and it'll get up to the 21, 22-foot elevation. So it was just unfortunate when we put it back in that the cord reading the pump there rubbed against the well casing, and then just a bare spot there, and then it would short out. And, we got it repaired. Code enforcement, Matt and I are continuing to look at it, but we're working feverishly on a lot of other issues there, and then once this sign ordinance gets there, we'll be implementing a lot of code enforcement in the downtown area.
If I can add to the weed abatement, we kind of got going on that last week. Drove around the city and took a look, and there was actually a lot of people that already had taken care of that issue, and so very little letters and emails went out, and I think we'll keep an eye on that and get that taken care of before the 4th of July is the goal. As well, working with Tony LaMonica, there was a few boats that were parked on the street, and so he was able to get on that very quickly as I emailed him and reached out, and he was able to get them off the street. So I wanted to thank him for that, for responding so quickly. I think that's it for code enforcement. And then city planning report. As you know, we have the general plan that the draft is out right now. It's been reviewed, and we've gathered all the comments, and right now we're going to be addressing those comments and incorporating them into the general plan draft. Tomorrow the Planning Commission will be looking at the draft and commenting on that. The next meeting, which is a special meeting of the City Council or the Planning Commission, Cal Poly will be giving a presentation on the draft plan, and would invite all the council members to come that evening, just to kind of hear that presentation and be able to comment. So it'll end up being a special meeting of the City or Planning Commission and City Council, and so you'll be getting notice about that. But I would also recommend, if you haven't taken a look, it's on our website. You can look at the draft, because after the Planning Commission, has made the review and made their comments will be coming to you to be accepted as an administrative draft. And then the next step would be getting an EIR prepared for that document, which would be the next following year. And we look to contract with Cal Poly as they kind of had the best price, and we feel really confident that they can do a really good job. And they have done EIRs for other communities that they've done general plan updates for.
And upon completion of the environmental document, then it'll be public hearings and for you guys, and then you adopt the general plan as well as the environmental impact report.
When was that meeting at?
June 10th. The regular meeting of the Planning Commission from June 3rd got moved to June 10th, since that was voting day.
Is that a Tuesday?
Yes, it is a Tuesday.
Great.
Yep. And yeah, it would be at their regular meeting time, which would be 6.
6 o'clock?
Yep.
Excuse me. One thing, as far as, I'm surprised you didn't mention, as far as public works goes, apparently, I can't find it, but there's a pothole at the corner of 3rd and Washington Street, and some lady stepped in it during the rib cook-off. I went up there and
Were you
looked. I
aware
still
of that?
can't
Because the
find it.
firemen were right there.
I can't find the pothole.
I thought you might have been.
Yeah, that's right where Mansmith's barbecue was.
Mm-hmm. That one.
Oh,
Right there?
He said it was, I thought he said it was by the beauty shop.
Right out the door of the
No, no.
beauty shop and towards the booth, right? Towards where Mansmith was, because Mansmith was right there.
Man's was on the other side of the street.
Yeah, he was up,
Oh, yeah.
Smith was up on the, by the orchard
The
lot.
way he made it sound, it was like right in front of the beauty shop.
We had to walk a little ways out. I'm not sure exactly. I didn't see it.
Anyhow, apparently
Anyway.
somebody
Fell down in there.
might take.
Pothole on
was it
3rd,
Saturday
around
or
the corner
Sunday?
from
That's,
Washington.
that's right next to the that big pepper tree and the orchard lot.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it is?
And, you know,
Okay.
I don't
yeah,
know.
the asphalt does have various contours and anomalies in it. Yeah.
I wanted to give my compliments to both Roger and Matt on the weed abatement. It seems like you said, a lot of the people who got notices last year are taking care of it on their own this year, and that just kind of goes along with what I'm always saying about code enforcement. The more we do, the more compliance we're going to get, I think, and it'll end up being less work in the long run.
And it's definitely much appreciated, because then I can work on other things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One other question.
Yeah, Tony.
Who counts the number of portable restrooms, these different,
The porta potties for the street events?
Yeah.
Generally, I'll do it. I counted the booths, and then I counted the porta potties on Washington Street and Polk Street.
well, what I'm referring to is the one that was at the soccer field. They were supposed to have 4 porta potties.
Oh, the Indian thing.
I
yeah.
couldn't find one.
Yeah, I think they relied on the public restroom there then, because I observed that too, that I didn't see any.
Hey, Roger, yeah, on the portable toilets, what's your thought about putting one at the park here
Yeah.
for the summer? Because these kids are having birthday. It's just, we're not going to get anything up.
Well, it cost us, we have one at the cemetery, it cost us $100 a month. And I don't know how often they come and, clean it out.
They'd probably have to clean a little more often in a park than in the
Yeah, but,
cemetery.
I mean, it's only $100 a month.
That part gets used on the weekends. We should put one down there.
Yeah.
These kids are.
Let me get a cost on it, and we'll do it there.
Yeah.
I was hoping that we would get that sewer lateral in there, and then we would put a porta potty, and we'd hook that up, and then we'd never have to have it pumped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the only one other question, walking at night, garbage cans right here. Remember we had somebody come in, there were a lack of a couple by Pat Rowley's office. They wanted some garbage cans.
Yeah,
I don't know if we-
Joe removed those because the people that were living up there were using them as trash dumps, and they were filling them up, and it was getting to a point where it was almost a daily basis where we had to empty them because people were just not subscribing to a garbage service, putting theirs out, and they were just using those public restrooms and stuff.
Yeah, it was on this side, you know, where...
Yeah.
I prefer catching them and finding them or whatever to taking away the trash cans. We really need trash cans downtown.
There's not out there on that one block.
I don't like the idea of removing benches or trash cans because
where our
people are...
problems is the mixed use zoning. The apartments up above residential, they don't subscribe to trash cans, and I've tried to call Recology and says, why don't you go, and says, hey, it's our ordinance that says you have to have one. They don't seem to care because those people come down in the morning and they're dumping it all up and down the street.
At a convenience.
Yeah?
At a convenience.
At their convenience, yeah.
Yeah, that's across the street. I was just wondering, the individual that came in was, you know, on this side, across from the...
No, there's people living above.
Yeah, there's people above those too.
Right here?
Or in the back of them.
Okay, well...
Now, the people that live up above the Plaza Market, right in the corner of 3rd and Washington Street, and they have their tucked in next to the stairs. But there are a few that don't bother to, you know, now the Bluebird, Julian Ponce's, they have theirs in the back, you know, off of Polk Street. So.
Okay.
We need to find a solution other than taking away the trash cans.
Yeah.
Whether it's getting the waste management company to go after them, or because we have an ordinance that says you have to have trash pickup, right?
They can opt out. They can opt out, and then they just have to show proof that they are depositing the trash somewhere.
Yeah.
Because we were reading into it, and that kind of took a backseat to other issues.
Yeah,
but,
well, I'm aware of the issues.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
was what I was going to say next. We didn't do the other side of the page on the city manager report.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is that because we had so many questions?
Yeah. Maybe we can develop and change the sewer rate to where if they do not provide a garbage center, we would have an extra dollar amount or so, whatever it is, for garbage disposal.
There you go.
That'll get their attention.
Above ground waste.
Okay, well, Roger, city manager.
It's kind of just reiterating what we've been doing with the nitrate and what Jan spoke of.
Right.
And we had a very good, productive meeting with her today, and she lined us out on the avenues that we have to pursue to get these grant funds.
Okay. Any questions regarding the city manager report from council? I don't know. Okay. Moving on. Public meetings and committee reports. Who wants to go?
No report, no meeting.
Okay. Robert?
Fire? Our fire, was that one?
Yeah, intergovernment too, but I don't think there was anything really pertinent.
Nothing pressing.
Everything
Pretty
was
much,
good.
it was just kind of carried, the same reports were carried over.
Yeah.
And we'll be meeting next month, strategizing for the motorcycle rally in intergovernment through law enforcement and other resources that we'll be using.
Okay. I'm gonna.
So they are having a rally this year.
Tony?
Nothing really.
Jolene?
AMBAG's got the Cycle Tracks program going to collect info about cyclists that will help make the area a better place to bike. They're not getting much information out of San Benito County. They're getting more out of Santa Cruz and Monterey. So if we want to get involved in bike usage more in this county, it'd be nice if bicyclists got more involved. They'll use the info to build a tool to assist local governments in identifying the best places to plan for new bicycle routes. It's called cycletracksmonterey.org, and you can participate that way. May is National Bike Month, and Also, I just noted that grant funding is available from Monterey Bay Unified Air Pollution Control District for projects that reduce motor vehicle emissions, which I spoke a little bit about when we had the presentation. At Neighborhood Watch, it was brought up again that we really need that noise ordinance because many of the issues with vehicle codes can be addressed with enforcement, but we do need a city noise ordinance to address some of the issues that aren't covered by the vehicle codes. And we discussed a little bit about downtown events. It was noted the need for enforcement of encroachment onto sidewalks and the A-frame signs that some of them like to put out in front of their booth are a tripping hazard for pedestrians.
The sandwich boards?
Yeah, the sandwich boards. During the events, not talking about the sign ordinance, but talking about keeping an eye on the people doing the events. After Monday, June 16th meeting, we will be changing the date of the Neighborhood Watch meeting to the second Thursday of the month. So the July meeting will be on July 10th, and the June meeting will be on June 16th. And then we've been having budget meetings, but I don't think we have anything to report yet from that. We're still working on our budget. And that'll come up later when we pass the budget, I hope.
Okay.
Has AMBAG talked to COG or Lisa about the bikes? Because we're always
I
talking
do not
about
know.
bike paths.
I do not know. Lisa was at the meeting,
Yeah.
but maybe she's not a bicyclist. Is she a bicyclist?
No, I think they pushed that program as well.
Okay.
The cycle tracks.
Uh-huh.
Try to get it out there.
Good.
Okay.
And you said the Neighborhood Watch was going to be when, July?
Well, there'll be a June 16th meeting on the regular third Monday like we've been doing, and then starting in July, we're going to move it to the second Thursday, so it'll be July 10th.
Oh, Thursday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4, consent items, A through H. Is there anybody who wants to pull any one of those items?
Pull item D.
Item D?
D as in David.
Okay. Anybody else?
E.
Pull E.
Just have some questions.
Okay. Okay, so I need a motion.
Move to approve items A, B, C, F, G, and H.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, a roll call vote. I guess I'm going through protocol here.
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. Rick, number D.
Just a minor thing.
Okay.
Page 5, action items, section 5C. Assistant City Manager Rathie, twice, should be City Attorney. And that's it.
Didn't catch
Yeah, I
that.
wondered if we had somebody else on the payroll. And
And also, on page 1, the last paragraph on the sheriff's report says the city manager and assistant planner should meet with local businesses. I believe that was the city manager and Captain LaMonica that were going to meet with the local businesses. Was it not?
Yes.
I don't know. Yes? What's his title, Captain?
Captain LaMonica, yes.
Still looking for the Raffy comment. Oh,
It's
assistants, there it is.
page
I see
5
it.
down at the
I see
bottom.
it, yeah.
Okay.
Move to approve as amended?
Yeah, no, number D, I just need a motion and
I'll second.
and then I guess roll call vote, city clerk, for item number D.
For item D?
Yeah, we'll go to E and,
That's item D.
correct, yeah, just that.
And Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
and Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, number E. Julie, is that you?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions on the Country Canyon cruise. I see
Yeah.
a red circle under vendors.
What page
And-
did you have?
Page
4. 3.
3 of the application. There's a red circle on vendors.
Oh, no, it is 4. It's upside down. The page number.
Oh, it is page 4 with the 3 over here? Yeah, it got a little messed up. Not sure. I wonder if somebody changed their minds and yes, they are going to have vendors instead of no? Because the no is X'd and then there's a red circle around it?
Yeah, I don't know, that's a good question.
Clarification on that, I guess.
Are they planning on vendors at the Country Canyon cruise?
We talked about it last year, so they might be bringing them in.
So that needs to be clarified before the event?
I think it is that they co-sponsored with the San Juan Committee to move the barricades and cones, and so we don't have to use our men, and so it saves them a little money, because we charge for that service.
Yeah, this is under vendors, though.
Yeah, no. And the San Juan Committee wanted to have a booth there to sell some stuff. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to.
Yeah, right, yeah. That's what I was getting at.
So the San Juan Committee might have a booth there.
Have a booth, yes.
In which case, I guess we just have to make sure that they have their licenses and all that.
All
to
the
do-
permits, yes.
All the permits to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it looks like it's just a matter of the city or the promoter following up to make sure that they are permitted for vendors.
What's the last day for them to file for a permit?
They could come in the day before,
Okay. But we don't have anything on file yet?
No.
Okay.
I generally, on the rib cook-off, I'll walk through and make sure all the quarters are open and then count the booths and report them to Michelle, and I'll go down and count all the cars or any booths and stuff like that, so give her a report.
And interestingly, on the other one that's got a red circle around it, it is at page 4, I guess, or page 5. No, it says 4 at the bottom, and then upside down it says 5. I know Trish was having a little problem with the copier. It might have something to do with it. But anyway, portable restrooms is circled in red, and because the yes or no isn't marked. And interestingly, I fielded a question on that at a car show I was at in Paso Robles from someone who said, oh, we always go to the San Juan show, but we were unhappy about the restroom situation, and we were told by the promoters that we should just ask the local merchants to use their restrooms. And I don't think that's a good solution. I think that they should have to have restrooms. I know it's an extra cost for them, and
Minimum,
it's a charitable event and all that, but
We're already giving them a break.
Yeah.
Huh?
We're already giving them a break, too.
I'll ask Trish to call them to make sure that
Yeah.
they have a few that would be scattered around.
it falls in with the same thing that Tony was saying about the Indian thing. Yeah, we have public restrooms, but especially for the car show, they're not convenient. The state park, apparently, according to this lady who asked me, is still closing their bathroom when we have events. And so they didn't have that option. And she said the merchants were not friendly about letting them use the restrooms. And she wasn't aware that we had restrooms at either end of town. But even if she was, it's a long ways to walk.
Long walk, yes. No, I agree.
So-
We should inform them that they have to have some scattered.
Yeah, an event
events.
like that doesn't need a lot of porta
No,
potties,
no.
but it needs a few.
A couple on Mariposa, maybe a couple on Washington.
And
At
then
least have the option.
And then the other one, and this was already marked in red too, so somebody's been looking at this, because I actually thought we approved this permit a long, long time ago. I think they put in
This one?
for it. Yeah.
No, I think it was late. We weren't, we hadn't
The
heard.
Padres, I think.
Yeah.
No, I mean like back in October or something, because I asked Michelle, did that permit ever go through? And she said, oh yeah, it went through in October. So, I don't know. Anyway, please describe your plan for cleanup and removal of recyclable goods and garbage during and after your event. That was left blank.
And that
So
will
it's
be
supposed to
with
be a
the
box?
San Juan Committee. They'll be responsible for that.
Okay.
Richard?
Okay. So, staff is aware that there are some issues on
Yeah.
these and they need to be cleaned up before the event, that's all.
Okay. I need a, do we have the resolution number?
There's a
14.
14, okay. I just need a motion and a second to approve
Did you have something
number
else,
8.
Glenn?
What about the next one? Is there any question?
I didn't have any question on the next one, no. That's done by the Parks Plaza History Association. They've been doing it every year on Father's Day
But their
weekends.
restrooms will be open.
I guess.
Oh,
See that?
oh, interesting.
We'll get on the phone tomorrow.
Hey, Roger, did you note that on the next one that the Parks is doing? It says their restrooms will be open. Yeah.
There, on that one page, so for the rally, there is one here, Harlan McGinnis, President Gold Coast, that he did have dated 10/18/13. So that was back in October. I don't know if maybe that was
Oh, it was a different sheet.
on this page here.
Yeah, because they had a show last year in October.
Huh?
Oh, they did.
I'm pretty sure, right?
I'm not sure when they...
Oh, no, I think that's when he put in the application, 10/1/13. It just didn't come to council for some reason, I guess.
So that's probably what that date there is for.
Either that or it's the second time we've looked at it.
Or maybe it went back to him.
Yeah.
You need a resolution number.
We've got 14. Yeah, and then I need a motion and a second, and we'll...
Move to approve?
Yeah. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, just a roll call vote, please. And we'll...
Councilmember Cosio,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
and Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker. It passes unanimously.
Okay. Number 5, action items. Consider resolution to accept the ecology report for the annual rate adjustment and notification report.
Are we ahead of ourselves?
Where's this,
We got the fireworks
fireworks
first, I think, don't we?
I thought we only pulled 2 items out, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Oh, sorry.
We pulled 2 items.
So we're done.
We've addressed both of them.
Okay.
Right? Correct? We voted on everything
Yeah.
except 2. We voted on that.
do you have to put a resolution number in this one?
Well, I think you fill them in, right?
Yes, I think
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we're down to action items.
Okay.
Yeah.
good.
Okay, consider resolution to accept the ecology report for the annual rate adjustment notification report. 11.5 will be good. Oh, okay. How you doing?
We had somebody who had to wait a long time.
There you go. Sorry.
That's all right.
Hey.
Mr. Mayor, member of the council, my name is Phil Couchet. I'm the general manager for Ecology San Benito County. I'm here in place of Mandy Rose's absence. She generally brings you the report. She had something come up and wasn't able to make it, so I'm here at her place. What we have before you is the annual rate adjustment that occurs on an annual basis. It is within the contract that there's a mathematical formula that is generated each year based upon a couple indices. It's a combination of the consumer price index and a motor fuel index that goes into a mathematical formula that's published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and we come out with a percentage increase. This year, the percentage increase is just over 1%. It's 1.33%. The effect of that to the majority of your residents is a 21-cent per month increase in their service. So with that, if there's any questions, can I take a step back? You guys were talking earlier about your solid waste issues, garbage issues, can problems, any kind of a problem you guys have, just give me a call and I'll take care of whatever issues you may have down there with extra cans or something. I was going to say that earlier, sorry.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Any questions from the council on this? Seeing none? I guess, okay, I just need a motion to approve this. Resolution number, please?
For recology?
Yeah.
18.
18? Okay. Need a motion and a second, please.
Second?
Is there a first?
I'll make the motion.
You made it?
No, Tony made the motion.
Oh, you
Tony did?
Yeah.
Okay, then we're good.
I thought it was ignored.
He whispered it.
Hey.
And Bach and Cozio.
Okay, you got it. I'm sorry. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Edge,
Aye.
Councilmember Bach,
Aye.
Councilmember Cozio,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lund,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you,
evening.
sir.
Thank
too.
you, and sorry you had to wait so
Bye.
long.
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't realize we had so many.
Okay. Consider 5B, consider a recommendation by the Planning Commission to bring together responsible parties to discuss options to the bus parking and locations in the city. So, Roger, I mean, I got the letter from Mr.
Yeah,
Franco.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, this came about, the chairman of the Planning Commission, Ernie Franco, he always has felt that it's time to pull together the city, the school district, the parks, and the mission to really address the bus parking and take a comprehensive look at where we should encourage the bus parking, and as well as looking at avenues to increase on-street parking throughout the downtown area. I know Matt has been working diligently with our Cal Poly students to come up with some ideas on that, and he's got a preferred bus parking pamphlet that he's developed.
Yeah, so I think more of the focus was kind of the overall parking situation for downtown, especially more on the extreme side for events like this last weekend, and where do you meet the demand of the parking? I think one portion of that concern is focusing on the bus parking that lines the street and takes away a lot of the preferred parking for whether it be people that need to park closer for different disabilities or things like that as well, taken away from the safety aspects of things, because students are walking in between buses and they block signs and they can just kind of, and so anyways, that being one of the issues, and then kind of just overall looking at the downtown, one of the Cal Poly students is working on implementing a part of the general plan, which is doing a comprehensive downtown parking assessment, looking at when are those peak times, when are those peak inventory times, and understanding where are those biggest impacts felt throughout the downtown, different days of the week, and on those events, and where are the opportunities to address some of those needs. So that's something that's going to be coming through the pipeline. But what the Planning Commission felt and the chairman was that there needed to be something that came from the city council to pull those groups together, because myself, I've been working on communicating with all three parties that Roger had mentioned, and it's something that's on their mind, but it's not something that's going to be at the top of the list. But his Ernest Franco's concern was that it is a high priority issue that needs to be dealt with, and can't really be dealt with without being all on the same page, because for the example where parking is being taken up by buses, the Mission and the state park are drawing the buses, and we're the owners of the street, and everyone has their different piece of the puzzle, and getting on the same page is the best way to come up with remedies. And to me, some of the remedies are easy, and I've talked about bus parking with the Planning Commission, and it just being somewhat of an organization thing. And I kind of have a little brochure I put together, which will be going to the Planning Commission. But just for an example, the buses, they show up and they drop the students off at the plaza, the Mission Plaza, and then the buses then look for parking. Usually they have a state park person greeting the parents and students, and they gather them up. Very easily they can get one of these. I've been having conversations with Willard McAbee from the school district, and talking about the soccer field lot being kind of a good opportunity, and I'd kind of witnessed several buses parking in there on their own. They don't know if they should be there or not. And anyways, Willard was in agreement with saying, hey, yeah, we can open this up. And basically had also the state park and the Mission kind of in agreement that the bus parking should be organized and put somewhere. And so anyways, that was something I was kind of working on, and Ernest Franco said, hey, this is something that I felt as well, but basically wanted to get the...
And Ernie said that it's beyond the Planning Commission's role. He says it has to come from the legislative body, which is the elected officials, in meeting with those partners, because it's really, there are partners in it with us. We happen to control the public right-of-ways, but it's the other partners and and shareholders of the system that have to solve the system and come up with a plan. I think that's where we're at. And vice versa, when Matt and I talked about it, it's our obligation is to take and try to maximize the parking on the public streets. And we're looking at ways of coming and maybe implementing some diagonal parking where we can increase parking spaces on certain streets. That would help that, particularly on the peak weekends when you have thousands of people coming in there on street events. The more we can get, the better off it is.
Okay. Has there been any sense of cooperation from either the state park or the Mission?
So for this bus parking, I kind of took it upon myself to reach out to them, and I've been working with them both, Mary Edge at the Mission and Stuart Organo from the state park, and they both were in support of basically having these buses, and that's just one piece of the whole parking puzzle. But they were in support of saying, okay, hey, that's a good location, and if they have this brochure that's put up on their website, and they can give it out to the bus drivers, and a lot of them are return bus drivers that they get familiar with the area, and so actually that's who I kind of had done a little improv survey with, was these guys that come from the Bay Area, and they come down several times a week, and those were the guys that I talked to parking in that soccer field lot, and they said, oh, this is the best spot because we drive around this way, we stay away from the narrow streets, we're able to drop off, there's bathrooms right there, we're able to walk to Windmill, grab lunch. When they get the call, they swoop back up and they pick the students up and then they go. So I got a lot of good feedback from those guys. But so anyways, with the school district being on board with basically opening up that lot, and the Mission and the state park agreeing to come up with a plan to say, hey, this is one thing that we can do to free up some of that parking and make it safer around the state park, and keep the buses going around 3rd Street, not going through 3rd Street. I mean, I've seen them, they're going all different directions, they're backing up over here on San Jose Street to try to come back down, and if they have a simple plan, a route that is preferred and makes sense and it's easy, they're going to take it. They just need a little direction. So that's just kind of one piece that to me was kind of an easy win. working with those organizations and then kind of going from there to bring everyone to the table and say, okay, hey, this is the big picture now. Looking at all the parking, what can we do? What are what are those easy remedies? And to me, I think there's plenty. I mean, even this last weekend, the grass field lot over here by the Mission was open, but Casa Maria was not. There's different ways for those organizations to get some donations towards their causes by, charging a small nominal fee. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for everybody just to be organized and on the same page.
Do they make an appointment or something, like a certain school wants to come? Do they coordinate that?
The lot there by the soccer field is reserved on street events for organizations inside the school.
What I meant
for the state park.
Call ahead.
Hollister School wants to bring their fourth graders over here. Do they make an appointment with the state park first?
You can reserve an
yeah.
officer, and they do a tour. I don't know how long it is.
They don't just let them show up, right?
I would think they would call and reserve, because what if every school in the state wanted to show up on
10, 15
1
schools
week?
here all at the same time.
I don't know exactly how that works, but bringing everyone to the same page once I send this out for the review, those are questions that I'll ask, because if they're already communicating with the state in advance, they can get sent one of these.
You can park down there. And
Yeah.
there is another parking area that the state park has up here at the end of the street.
Yep. That's another opportunity that...
It's always been very touchy as to what...
That's a pretty tight area for
They go straight up the street.
Well, not for buses, but vehicle parking, I think
They
it's
park
appropriate.
their maintenance vehicles in there, but they're saying that a portion of that is sacred Indian burial grounds, so they don't want to let you get towards the south end of it. It's kind of restricted. But I think we're on the right thing to maximize each lot in terms of getting the maximum amount of parking stalls that we can achieve. Now, on events, the school districts kind of encompass the parking lots around here, and then they'll use it as fundraisers.
Yeah, I just wondered, well, maybe you can answer.
Most of the schools are scheduling through the gift shop at the Mission.
Well, but this big lot here, for some reason, they've always been resistant to using that as a parking lot, except
when they're charging for parking.
Right.
Is that the grass lot?
I didn't want to say that.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if there's still that. I know several years ago we talked about parking. We had a kind of like a committee, and the diocese just said no way.
Now, what Matt has broached upon is one element is there. The other element is that we've toyed with is to try to instill upon the downtown merchants to do a downtown parking assessment district and develop some off-street parking. And we've identified and looked at that one lot off of 4th Street that's behind the rock shop and everything, and that could be a potential. I think that's an avenue, and then as well as maybe Ron Polk's, and make that a public lot and maybe give him some revenue for utilizing it or something like that. So
those wouldn't work for buses, though, either.
No. This is for more customers and visitors that comes into the city.
I was wondering how Saul
parking is a premium.
Somebody was thinking way ahead of the game.
Parking is a premium when you develop shopping centers. That's a prime example where they put a high value on parking because that's their avenue to bring customers to their establishment. And historically, San Juan has developed over the years, and we haven't developed any parking requirements for that. And so the only way to achieve it, I know in Hollister we did it in the early 70s. We did the downtown parking, and we created 7 parking lots throughout the downtown area. And there was some resistance, but we sold some revenue bonds for 15, 20 years, and we achieved that. But and then they're well used now.
Well, it sounds like Matt's on the right track as far as talking to them and all that. But what I've noticed, it's not the regular bus drivers that you're talking about that are going down to the soccer field that are causing the problem. It's the actual school buses who maybe come here once a year, and the worst case scenario, the other day, I came by and the buses were so lined up in front of the crosswalks, you couldn't see the kids crossing. And it needs to be emphasized to these guys that only come once a year and every year, because that was one of the worst times I've ever seen it there. There were 2 different school district buses on the same day, and I think there were 6 or 7 of them total, and they were all down here. And they were parked in the red, parked in front of the crosswalks. They had obviously been there a long time because the kids are going back and forth across the street, so it wasn't like they just were dropping them off there. They were staying there. And those are the ones that we really need to emphasize it to, is the ones that only come over once a year when they bring their kids from Kalinga or wherever it happens to be, and then they park in front of the crosswalks and drivers can't see. Anybody trying to park obviously has nowhere to park, although a lot of what they were parked in is illegal parking anyway. Nobody else would be using it. But we really need to get on those and not only talk to the regulars who are coming and figuring out for themselves that it's a good place to park over there by the soccer field, but make it clear to each and every school district that comes, and talk to them again each year, or send out these flyers again each year. It's not just enough to do it once. Oh, you've been here before. Well, it might be a different bus driver who comes the next time, so they need to be told
Right.
again.
And that's kind of more the implementation of this is what I was thinking.
Yeah,
was
that looks great.
they're on all, the Mission and the state parks websites, but then also, where if we see them, which our office is right here, we can walk over there and give this to them, and it's something that's already been vetted and it works for everybody, and then they have a place to go. Whereas right now, if everything's jammed up and I go over there and say, you got to move, they go and do that same thing somewhere else. And I mean, just having a place identified for them to go, once this comes through, we would have signage, the map would show them where to go, how to park, and then when bus drivers are coming in, they'll see other buses there and they can loop around. And I think the key thing is getting this to those bus drivers, hopefully in advance, like Tony was mentioning.
At the beginning of the school year,
or
before they
or
come,
when they
if they make an
stop the
appointment.
cart to let the children out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Or
be
even
great.
even the state park employee can hand it once they're here.
And that's why having them on the same page to the state park,
Sure.
They'll be willing to distribute it.
And the other place besides the soccer field that has always looked good to buses for me, because there's not much parking there on a normal day, is where the other bathroom is, over at Albee Park. There's quite a bit of long parking spots along there most of the time, not all the time like the soccer field, but if the soccer field's got too many, there's that alternative, which should be easy for buses. And then, like you said, I have never understood why the Mission stopped letting them park in that grass parking lot, because they did used to on a regular basis. That's where they went. They dropped the kids off and they went right down there to that lot. And then for some reason the church blocked it off some 10 years ago and hasn't ever opened it up again, other than, like you said, when they're charging for cars to go in there.
Well, it seems to have something to do with liability.
I assume it's liability.
It was a liability and a trash issue.
Bob,
Liability and trash.
did you want to address?
State parks could also open up the plaza and put buses in there.
Yeah, that doesn't help the appearance.
That
though,
used to be a
for
street.
pictures. Yeah.
It used to be a street. It's still a street.
Bob Reed.
I know you're invited to the.
Where are you from, sir?
Cassie.
Front row.
Second
chair.
Bingo, Bob.
I think I live there. I want to commend Matt for addressing an important issue. And my concern is that it feels to me that the city council created the strategic planning committee to address this kind of issue, that to have a place where all of those entities are represented and they can have that conversation.
And if the state park and the school are having the conversation outside of participating on the strategic planning committee, then that dilutes that participation, and there's less need for them to participate. I think as long as the problems are being addressed, I think that's great. But I think that the strategic planning committee is in need of tasks and things that are important for them to do. So we just ask you to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
And that's a real good point. Rather than go the route that you've been thinking of going, is talk to them individually and then bring it to the planning commission, maybe, because you're also involved in the strategic planning committee, bring it to the strategic planning committee and use that as the solution, and then tell the planning commission, look, we solved it. So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. I like that map idea, because once you pass McCollum, and if you're facing, towards Monterey, you get to San Jose, and there's cars on both sides. The bus drivers will ask me, how do I get back around here? And so you have to probably down to Monterey and come back on up.
Yeah.
Because they can't make that left.
Yep.
With the two cars on that narrow San Jose.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, I have also included kind of like a preferred route throughout the city.
There you go.
So you have people coming from 101.
Right.
You don't want them making the left to get onto McCollum and Monterey.
Right.
You want them to go to the stoplight because it's going to be a safer intersection.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I think Matt's got on a good idea and Bob's got a good suggestion, but ultimately this council has the authority of how to use the right-of-ways. That's why you have to be at the table to exercise that authority. The strategic plan has a lot of good things, but when they meet, they don't have the same authority that you have to say, no, this is going to be the route, and this is how we're going to use our public right-of-ways. You have that authority.
Right, but they can report.
They can forward that recommendation.
They can report back to us, and we can say, yep, sounds good to us, or nah, that won't work.
Or adjust.
But by sponsoring and delegating that, it doesn't have the same weight as if you're at the table. You don't all have to be at the table. It just has to be one or two at that table.
Rick Edge is on the strategic plan.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah.
I haven't been for a while.
Yeah.
And incidentally, I don't think that the schools or the state parks were participating, were they?
In the strategic.
Initially they were, but I think, well, the school district, there is a member.
We definitely have the school district, but the state park is not kind of represented.
Yeah.
Or the mission?
I think he came to the first meeting and never came after that. So.
But I think from when the committee first started to now, things have kind of evolved, and especially with the general plan coming in online. So I think things have been moving a lot quicker than they have been.
I agree completely with Bob. I think it would be a great task to hand off to us.
Yep.
It's on the committee. That's on the committee.
I don't have a problem with that.
And then as far as the actual route approval, bring it back to the council and we'll approve or not.
Yep, and I think especially with the strategic plan committee working with the general plan, we're going to be having a pretty solid draft hopefully by the beginning of June, and that's going to incorporate a lot of the work that the strategic plan committee has done, and that's in the last chapter or the last element of the plan. And anyway, so I know they're hungry and ready to get moving on implementation as well. So I think there are some good tasks that could be delegated to them.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to take anything away from the strategic plan, but this body has to take a bold step and direct them to say, because they have to get the feeling that you mean business, to say, we want a strategic parking plan, and bring it back to us.
Yeah.
And that statement, they're going to have that meet the challenge. But until you say, oh, work it out, we'll work it out with them, it doesn't have the presence unless you give positive direction. And that's what we're trying to.
Yeah, I think the council is
Well, Rick,
on board.
yeah, I mean, we have a member.
Yeah.
I haven't
Do we put
been attending.
Do we put another
since-
member on it? I mean, so we don't avoid a Brown Act?
Not so much having a member on it is you give them direction to say, this is the direction we want to go.
Direction.
Well, that's basically pretty simple. These two are right here, plus Matt. You guys come up with a parking lot and a route for these school buses and bring it to us. All right? Yes, sir.
I got a recommendation. So, coupled with the letter that Ernest Franco had put together, I think using the strategic plan committee, maybe Rick can come and participate as the representative from the city council. We can get State Park and someone from the mission to come, because both the cities there, I'm attending, as well as the school district, and with coupled with the Cal Poly student that's coming up with that parking assessment. I mean, that's going to be hard data that we can use to come up with the necessary remedies. But I think calling all those parties together and getting them there at what date, I'm not exactly sure.
And I don't think you should use the word parking assessment. It should be a parking study. Because when you say parking assessment, then they think, oh, you're going to
Charge us.
charge you
Yeah, don't do that. Flipping out. Okay.
I like the fee.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what went through my mind when he said
Said that,
assessment.
yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Choose your words carefully, Matt.
Yeah,
Somebody will
right.
jump on
Assessment,
you.
right.
Yeah.
I know what he meant.
A parking study.
Okay, so
Rick will,
you have your direction.
yeah, Rick's going to be
Sir?
our
We're direct.
report back. Okay. 5C, consider resolution to supporting efforts to reform Proposition 13. Council Member Edge.
As you probably noticed, there was no information in your packet, so we need to continue this until next month.
Okay, we're going to continue it.
So next month, though.
We did,
Can I just ask if everybody got the email from Linda? With some kind of, we always like to see both sides of a story, and
I got it.
that does tell another side.
Okay, I got it. So we'll throw this on the next month.
Possibly
Yeah,
that
next
should
month.
be included in the packet.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Yeah, I got it.
So we'll carry that over.
Oh, yeah.
Carry it over.
Yeah.
6 is done. Number 7, comments, City Council. I'll start off. I don't have any.
Want to start left to right?
Okay.
I've got a couple of items. Tony has talked a long time about the speeding problem down at his end of 4th Street. Within the past month, I think I was at Vertigo. Yeah, I was at Vertigo waiting to meet somebody who actually didn't show up. And I noticed, and I live near there, I should see it. I should have seen it before. But what happens is people come from the signal, hauling, you know what, down the Alameda, veer off onto 4th Street and go shooting down 4th Street. Now, 4th Street from the Alameda to Franklin is narrow because there's cars parked on both sides. So this is not safe. And what they're trying to do is to hurry up and get down to the stop sign at Washington so they can shoot through that and go down to Drew's office at the park, and then from there shoot down. And we've talked about speed bumps, and there was another term, speed humps. I think Ed
Raised
Leveroni said
crosswalk.
those were more effective. We've got a bunch of stop signs in town that are there simply to stop traffic. They're not there because the cross street doesn't get a chance to get into the other street. It's there to stop cars. Up here by the condos on First Street, there's no reason why that stop sign needs to be there except to stop cars. Same thing down at the bottom of the
They
hill
don't stop
at
anyways.
Awani or Donner, whatever it is, Awani.
And they've used stop signs as slowing traffic down.
Yeah,
right.
and 6th and Washington was put in there for that reason. And I still see people barreling through there
Yeah.
on Washington Street, coming from your neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
So, you
I have
know,
some speeding
this is not a
neighbors.
total fix, but I think
Not one of them.
we need to look at a couple more stop signs. What I'm thinking is where Mission comes in, right at the corner where Vertigo is, where Mission comes in by Candelaria's house there, that would put an end to it. And then they've got 2 more blocks to go before Washington Street. And the same thing could be done down on 4th, a block or 2 from Monterey. Maybe at Tuolumne, maybe at, San Jose, at where Cuco lives. But we've got to do something and slow these people down, because changing the speed limit doesn't work. The fact that it's unsafe to drive fast in these areas doesn't work. And as we all know, a stop sign doesn't always work, because people who think there's not too much traffic there, I can just shoot on through, they do it. Every time I come up to the stop sign at 6th and Washington, because I live around the corner, I always see them jamming on their brakes because they didn't think there was going to be another car coming there, and they were going to run that stop sign. So we need to do something.
So would you like to refer to staff then?
Yeah, I would like Roger to or delegate, but maybe do a traffic study and come up with some ideas for some more stop signs. Actually, I think you can erect them, or do you need council action?
We have the authority, but I have to bring it to you to get the legal authority to do it, you know, because the liability. But let me take a look at it, because there was a few other ones that we wanted to think about changing or adding. Yeah.
I mean, right now, I come up to 3rd Street on a weekend, and people come driving down and they stop where there's no stop sign.
Yeah.
You know, typical tourist
At Franklin.
behavior. You know,
At Franklin and 3rd is
every
famous for that.
every corner that
They're
doesn't
looking at
have a
me
stop
like, why
sign.
aren't you going?
You know, so we've got them conditioned already. It's the locals we've got to worry about, actually.
To add what you're saying, I have wanted a speed bump, possibly Tuolumne and 4th or somewhere, but I've always been concerned, and I think we've been really lucky. There's no crosswalk in that area, and you've got the Teatro there. And when the Teatro's putting on something that you know, there's cars up and down 4th Street.
Oh, yeah.
They're in their parking lot. They're parked on Tuolumne Street.
Yeah.
And without a designated crosswalk, I just don't know what the ramifications of that would be if somebody, and there are some, and I think they're locals, man, they run that stop sign at Monterey and 4th Street. I don't know where they're coming. They're coming from San Jose or wherever they're coming from, and they run that stop sign, and they're doing, well, Brown said I exaggerated, but I swear they're doing 40, 50 miles an hour by the time they get to my house. You know, so.
Why don't you know, before we get involved in this long discussion and something on the agenda, and it's not, it's supposed to be short comments, why don't each of you send your concerns about stop sign locations, whatever, to Roger, so he can have something to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Either that or put it on the agenda next time and it passes on to Roger.
I think it's a combination where you see it, the lack of, they know there's a lack of law enforcement around, traffic control, because I get here early in the morning and they're just whizzing down 2nd Street here.
Oh, I hear them blowing that stop sign.
You know, and then they know that there's nobody around and they do it, you know.
But George is right, we don't have it on the agenda, so we can't really make a discussion item out of it. But I actually did have something that might address this a little bit on my comments, and it was back to the...
I had 2 comments.
Okay.
That was the first one.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. The other one is, I got a call from Lainey Reyna, complaining about the ARPA station. And I dealt with her issues, and really what it all boiled down to was she worries about the trucks coming down 156, going fast, and causing accidents. And you know, the gas station is not going to generate any traffic. Nobody's going to come off 101 to buy gas 3 miles away on 156. The gas station is not going to generate any more traffic if it goes in. But we have a speed issue here with the trucks, and I don't know what we can do. We've touched on it a few times, and I don't think we've ever really gotten any kind of a resolution. But I'd like to see some kind of committee or something to deal with this. We need to work with the CHP and Caltrans, and we need to find a way to slow those trucks down, either a change in the speed limit or get CHP to work radar. If we need the sheriff to give permission to them to do that, let's get moving on it. We need to do something, because once the freeway goes in through the valley, we're going to have no control over it. We need to get going on it now before they put the other 2 lanes in.
You know, a couple things. Before I even moved here, going living in Hollister, they used to work radar at the sheriff's office by the turnout across from Valero. And they, you know, coming down, going eastbound. And how does that affect, if there's a vehicle accident in that span, the sheriff's office takes it, even though it's a highway. Will the CHP come in and work that in between, you know, the county, I mean, our city lines?
Well, is it
I
still
think
in
too
the
is
SRA and LRA?
I think too it's a lack of enforcement. Just the other day, I was coming down off of the grade, you know, and then when you come into the city, it says 55 and then 45, and then you go over the Washington Street. But they just ignore that, and they fly right over that, and then they're going 55 and 60 through that intersection.
That's where radar would be effective.
Yeah.
Somebody down at the signal shooting them coming around the bend of the curve where they're doing 65 and a 45 or whatever it is.
A few years back, they used to work it there. You know, they'd be handheld, or they'd have that dash radar. It was a sheriff's office. And I think, I don't know if that one unit is equipped with radar, but that goes back to having a deputy assigned here, you know what I mean, to work.
I think we bought a radar unit one time, and somehow it mysteriously got broken at the sheriff's office.
I agree with you. Maybe we should have a committee. I mean, that.
You take
like
that up with
Councilman-
Darren and Tony. I'm going to meet with them and talk about this stuff. And that's it's been on our radar for a couple of years.
Well, that piggybacks what you know. This is, you know, the Reno saying, you know, hey, we got to slow those people down. So I agree.
We talked about a red light camera at one time, but they're so expensive, and a lot of the cities up on the peninsula are taking them out because they're not generating enough money to make the high payments to the company that puts them in. Right. So, and that's not going to work down here. We don't have that much traffic, but we need something to slow these people down, and especially the trucks. Especially the trucks.
Well, to respond to it, we talked about this earlier. About 3 months ago, I questioned at a COG meeting Caltrans, and every time I see him at a COG meeting, I ask him, and while we're still working on it, we're working on it, because the statement was made somewhere, I don't know whether it was here, I think it was here, that, when they were here giving us a presentation on 56, when Caltrans and Lisa Reiner were here, they said that it had to be 65 miles an hour on a 4-lane. And then I pointed, Jolene told me about it, and I pointed out to him that, hey, in Placerville, they have almost the same situation. They have a stoplight, but it's 40 miles an hour. So how come they're different than us? But I haven't gotten an answer from Caltrans yet.
You're doing it again.
Discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to get me.
Okay.
I don't care how we do it. I want to see it agendized or something.
Okay, agendized. My turn? Well, so we don't keep discussing things that we really shouldn't be discussing because they're not on the agenda. I want to know when we might see documentation for the business license fees that we discussed last month. Is that something that's going to be popping up on our agenda sooner than later, or later than, because you're too busy to do it? I don't want to forget that we had that discussion on the business license fees, and the result was that we need documentation in order to change the business license fees from staff. So keep that somewhere on your back burner. Don't forget it. And I got a call from Mary Hasaya Quran. I don't know how you say her name, but
Shay Caron.
Shah Caron? Oh, that's easy. Shah Caron. Yeah, that is how she says it when she says it herself, isn't it? Anyway, she asked about the possibility of the city coming up with a resolution or proclamation to be a green city, because she felt that that might help in her efforts to get a grant for clean energy for the city. I know she's talked to both of you about that, and it could lower the city's costs for PG&E to work with some of these people. And I think if it would help to have either a proclamation or a resolution, that we should do it, and we should do it for next month, because the meeting is in July up in San Francisco.
July 9th.
Yeah. And then I also had on here, interestingly enough, raised crosswalks, that I would like to have that on an agenda sometime. And the reason I'm talking about raised crosswalks as opposed to stop signs is I think it solves two problems. We have a problem of enforcement. If it's a stop sign, a raised crosswalk, you don't need somebody there to tell them they've got to slow down. And if we can put a raised crosswalk there in front of the Teatro, or a raised crosswalk over on the other corner.
Okay. Well, just let us direct.
And the general plan, can it address the speed issue? And that was a comment.
Okay.
Did I get everybody? I'm kind of...
No, I have no more comments.
Can the general plan address the speed issue?
Robert, I'm sorry. I'm kind of...
On 156?
Lisa Reinheimer asked about it.
It's already in there.
Good.
Already in there.
I don't even...
Thought it was.
I think everybody...
I have no further comment because George will allow
we
me.
missed Robert.
I think Robert's...
I don't know. I was kind of a little disappointed in one of the speakers tonight that was very boisterous to us.
I was disappointed in my reaction to him.
I don't feel that we should be talking like that in a public session like this. It was, I felt it was disrespectful. This could have been handled other ways. We could have talked about it instead of... There was a lot of students here tonight, and they're learning intergovernment, and this is not the way they need to find out what intergovernment is about. They need to find out, the positives, so that they can, they're our future. And to have a group of students in here while that was going on, that was really disappointing. And I hope we can maybe, get through that and address it next time, and stop it before it happens.
On a positive note, Robert, did you want to mention the upcoming car show?
Upcoming car show, yes. That's exciting. Towards the end of the month there. I think this is going to be something that's going to be growing and getting bigger and bigger every year. I think
May 31st?
Yeah, May 31st. There'll be 4 cars in there that'll be really, really special. You got to keep your eye on those. And the rib cook-off this weekend, I didn't see any problems. Everything kind of went well. I didn't get to talk to too many of the vendors at the end of it to see how they did this weekend. I don't know if, Roger, if you get any input from any of them, or...
Jason was in talking to Michelle, and he's going to come back with his results.
That's good, because he gives a certain percentage of that, and I think talking with Chuck, how we can address the tax issue of how we weren't getting those spikes last year. Doing $500,000 of business over a weekend, and we're not getting a spike over the next 6 months or so in our sales tax. We should have something in there. So
Tony, you want to say?
Yeah, two things. Fortunately, I was a judge for the rib cook-off, and so I have my fill of barbecues for the next month or so. So that was a good start. The other part was I wanted to do it. I kind of lost it with Mr. Sanchez because I knew what had happened Monday morning. And I want to apologize for that. I should have just kept my mouth shut, but I didn't feel what he was saying. I mean, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
All right. And
The action.
anyhow, I apologize for my reaction to it, but it was very frustrating to me.
You know, I'll just finish up and say one thing. I know we're going to closed session, but I am, Roger, staff, I'm 110% behind you. You guys doing a great job. So I want the public to know that on TV. And you guys are, you work hard. You guys are here all the time, everybody. And you know what? I'm right behind you. So that's where
I didn't want to say anything, but
you know,
today I emailed the game warden and apologized for the confrontation, and he understood, the frustration, and so I apologized, and he accepted it.
Yeah, well, that's good. Okay, well, I guess City, Roger, you have anything more to say?
No.
Matt? Yeah, I know you're not down here, but I mean...
Yeah, I do have just a quick comment.
Okay.
We'll be bringing this back to you next month, but I got a call from AMBAG today in regards to the charging station, and so we're kind of at the point in time where we need to figure out if basically the ownership's going to be for the city, or are we going to hand it back to the Blink, who is the operator, and then we can get a certain portion of the revenue. But basically, it's come to the point in time where it's kind of no longer going to be free unless we take control of it and figure out. So we'll be talking about that next month, but I just got the call today and wanted to give you the heads up for that.
So we'll have kind of a study of how it works?
Yeah, well, I'll bring forward the information next month, and maybe we'll have a recommendation.
If Blink took it, they would maintain it?
Well, they
Well, that's what
yeah,
we'll
yeah. And there's a
talk
couple
about
options,
next
and if we take it, then we could convert it to a
We're gonna get in
credit card
trouble again.
application and then get the 5%. So there's a couple of alternates that we want to take a look at.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, George, you're...
I thought I'd read from the Brown Act about a half an hour.
Okay, I guess we're going to adjourn into closed session.
I'll make a motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn to closed session.
And then I'll take a... Okay. You don't even want... Hey, how about take a 5-minute break? Right?